Ladies and gentlemen, I see that the committee has indeed returned and happy to report that the committee, having fulfilled its charge, is discharged. And at this time, it is my great pleasure to introduce the fearless leader of Connecticut, Governor Ned Lamont.
Thank you, everybody. No, thank you. I do appreciate it. So, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, Senator Kelly, Representative Candelora, Senator Duff, Representative Rojas, members of the General Assembly, Lieutenant Governor Bysowitz, my fellow state officials, honored guests, and the people of the great state of Connecticut. 8 months ago, we passed on a strongly bipartisan basis a 2-year budget, which, unlike most of our peer states, is still in the black. That budget makes our state's largest ever commitment to child care, K-12 education, our universities, workforce training, and the not-for-profits. At the same time, our budget provided a 10% tax cut for middle-class families and a bigger tax credit for working families and essential workers. And people are noticing. Unlike our neighboring states, which are losing population, Connecticut has gained population over each of the last few years. Today we have more people working, more people starting businesses, more people joining labor unions with better pay and better benefits, more of our graduates staying in Connecticut, and more out-of-staters wanting to move to Connecticut. One warning sign. We have too many people who cannot find a place to live. Either it's not available or it's not affordable. Our biennial budget doubles our investment in housing. That's workforce housing, affordable housing, supportive housing, elder housing, and downtown apartments. Long overdue, long overdue. Look, most of our cities were much bigger 50 years ago. And what was once housing became parking lots and crumbling brownstones. Well, today, multifamily housing is being built on these empty parking lots and those half-empty office buildings, and old brownfields are being remediated into new communities where your child or your grandparent can afford to live. And why reinvent the wheel? We have a development model that works right here. It's under the leadership of Mike Freeman. Is Mike here? I hope so. Who leads the Capital Region Development Authority. There he is. What are you hiding back there for? He leads the Capital Region Development Authority, which leverages the financial layer cake of state and federal dollars with private monies, which means more housing is being built faster at less cost. In the Hartford region alone, that's over 5,000 homes have been built or soon to be built. We're taking this model across the state, and we'll be looking for input from our towns and cities. Where do you want the housing to be? What's the density? How far are you from public transportation in our schools? The state will be your partner in completing the financing ASAP to get those shovels in the ground. Meriden is a great case in point. What was once a bankrupt shopping center and an empty parking lot is now a beautiful park with 250 new units of housing built, all a short walk to a refurbished train station. Downtown New London has seen more new housing built in the last 4 years than in the previous 14 years combined. New families have moved from New York to Stamford, to Norwalk, to Shelton, down the Naugatuck Valley to Waterbury, which is one of our fastest growing cities. And more frequent and convenient two-way rail between Bridgeport and Waterbury is turbocharging that renaissance. The federal infrastructure law was especially important to Connecticut, given our aging transportation system. Now commuter rail will be 25 minutes faster from New Haven to Grand Central and Penn Station. Bridgeport will be as close to New York City as Stamford is today by rail. Each new bridge can save 2 to 3 minutes per ride, as trains will no longer have to slow down to travel over those 100-year-old bridges. So count how many bridges you go over on your commute, and you can figure out how much time you'll be saving. And our transportation fund is replenished, so Connecticut can better compete for the competitive grants. And we're punching way above our weight class right now. Thank you to Garrett Euclidou, wherever he might be. And also thanks to our workforce program, which is I'll tell you on a personal note, I've been to a few anti-war demonstrations as well in my day. And whatever the justice of your cause, I think you do a disservice when you're rude and disrespectful in a room like this, disrespecting the people in this room and disrespecting the audience. All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Our workforce program is partnering with the building trades as well to make sure that quality workers are ready to go to take advantage of those transportation dollars. The more housing built around these transportation centers, the more frequent the rail service. Sela Mascara Bruno, saw you there. There you are. You're popular, Sela. Sela knows that the biggest driver of high costs in our state is the cost of housing. The biggest driver of high costs is the cost of housing. Look, if you already own a home, you're probably doing pretty well right now. But the lack of housing drives up costs for everybody else and increases the risk of homelessness. To combat this, Sela is converting old hotels, motels, commercial properties into temporary housing, and she's also leading our interagency task force on homelessness. What does that mean? Housing is more than a roof over your head. Look, thanks to the extra $350 million commitment you all made to mental health, we are providing addiction and mental health services in support of housing. Where's Nancy Navarrete? And soon you'll be ready for job training. Where's Kelly Valeris? We are one of the densest states in the country, by which I mean we have more people per square mile. So we have to manage our growth carefully. What do you want Connecticut to look like in 2035? Our cities are coming back big time, and we're preserving more open space than ever before. Over 11,000 acres preserved in the last 5 years alone, 11,000 acres. Look, Katie Dykes and the team at DEEP, they're supporting hundreds of miles of bike and hiking trails, better connecting our downtowns to our great outdoors. But you better check the weather. Our state and our country are being hit by more severe and more unpredictable weather than ever before. Last summer, the Connecticut River Valley required extra irrigation due to a severe drought. Then a week later, the crops were 6 inches underwater following torrential downpours. They call it a rain bomb. The cost of dealing with climate change is expensive, but the cost of doing nothing is immeasurable. That's what it's costing in other states. Flood insurance in Florida, prohibitive. Arizona's water crisis has shut down development in and around Phoenix. And wildfires from California to Canada are smoking out many a sunny day in Connecticut. We must continue working together to keep our energy system reliable, affordable, and less toxic. Most of our energy supply is carbon-free, thanks in large part to nuclear power, but also we have doubled down on wind, solar, and hydro. And thanks to our energy efficiency efforts, our demand for electricity has not really increased much so far this century. And thanks to Brian Garcia and the Green Bank, we're able to make your home more efficient, more energy self-sufficient, saving you hundreds of dollars every year without adding one whit to air pollution. However, from supercomputers and data centers, and then moving to hybrid and electric vehicles, we know that modern technology will put more and more demands upon our grid. So I'm working with my neighboring governors as we source the next generation of clean energy with an emphasis upon affordability. And I would welcome insights from the Energy and Environment Committees as we weigh our options. Sadly, it's not just weather which is becoming more extreme. Our culture is unleashing more extreme behavior, be it expressions of racism, hate speech, increased domestic abuse, fentanyl overdoses, with a sad surge in mental health calls, starting younger and younger. Our budget provides more security for houses of worship to counter rising threats, and when more cops on the beat, but the extreme behavior reflects something much more profound. Our budget is doing more. How can we do a better job directing our resources to make a difference in people's lives, turning hopelessness into hope and hardship into opportunity? Well, we have the DSS service centers right now where you can get your SNAP benefits or Medicaid renewals, and they're being transformed into opportunity centers where one desk over, you'll be able to link to workforce training program with the necessary childcare and rent relief supports you need to make your next job, a reality. And that training should get you a better job with better pay. And we will be proposing, yet again, paid sick days, so you don't have to show up sick to keep the job you need. And our budget provides the biggest commitment to childcare in our history. The biggest commitment in our history. An additional $90 million next year alone, $90 million, providing additional pay for early childhood educators and higher reimbursement for our centers and family care homes, all following the recommendations of the Blue Ribbon Panel. Thank you, Beth Bai. And our budget continues to provide incentives for more companies to follow Electric Boat's lead, which is partnering with the Navy and matching Connecticut's commitment to support more childcare in Southeast Connecticut, making it easier for EB to recruit or retain new moms and dads, and also a better start for their newborn. Our budget provides resources to help caregivers get certified and set up their own home-based childcare center. Hats off to Maria Amato. Where's Maria? Hey, Maria. With a little extra help, Maria is able to take care of many, many more kids than she was before in her nationally recognized home health care center. Thank you. And we have eliminated licensing fees and red tape, and our Social Equity Council will be prioritizing child care and homeless shelters in those communities that were hardest hit by the war on drugs. We're providing also visits by experienced nurses for first-time parents starting in Bridgeport, and that's just for starters. Our expanded child care feeds to our nation's best K-12 education system. Our budget provides more. Let's make sure we're doing better for our kids. Our teachers and paras need help, and our kids still need some catching up. Charlene Russell Tucker over at the Department of Education. She continues to create a talent pipeline which will address the teacher shortages by expanding our Ed Rising program, where high school age kids can help out in the elementary classrooms. My version of Big Brother, Big Sister. And Dante Bartolomeo. There she is. Hey, Dante. Over at Labor, she's expanding our teacher apprentice program so our next generation teachers, including Tanner Callahan. Is Tanner here? There's Tanner. Teachers College, CCSU. He's going to be joining our Waterbury Public School as an apprentice, getting paid to assist in the K-12 classroom while finishing his education. That means extra attention for that student who may be feeling lost. Thank you, Tanner. In addition to our expanding ECS funding, our schools still have an additional $400 million in federal relief money to invest over the next 2 years. Make sure it's invested wisely. And we will continue to fund the LEAP program as we get more and more of our kids who got disconnected from school during the pandemic back in the classroom. And thankfully, our chronic absentee rate is continuing to drop. And for those feeling deeply alone, be they vets or teenagers, Susan Beiswitz is focused on rejuvenating social and community connections with her new council, and our budget continues to make the popular summer enrichment program available, and after-school programs, and expanded free school meals. It's tough to learn on an empty stomach. There's one more distraction in the school classroom: social media. Where increasingly kids on smartphones are tuning out each other, tuning out learning, and tuning into unfiltered images, which can be fun or disturbing. And some of the severe anxiety and aberrant behavior can be traced back to social media. You remember that smack a teacher TikTok? That comes to mind. That even shut down one of our schools. Well, William Tong is pushing to make sure that the social media companies are held accountable to do a better job of protecting our kids. Thank you, William. In the legislature, we've got Senator Maroney, who's going to make sure we put an end to those deep fakes. That's the real Senator Maroney, not a hologram, the real McCoy. I have a sort of simple idea, I guess. Takes a little bit from China and a little bit from Beyonce. China limits TikTok for children to 1 hour per day. And Beyonce makes you leave your smartphone in a yonder pouch before her major events. We'll be sending out guidance to your school boards pretty soon. Have your younger students leave their smartphones at home or drop them in the yonder pouch at the start of every school day. A couple of you had to put your phone down then. Look, I'm showing my age, but I do find that social media is sometimes fundamentally antisocial, and I think too much smartphone makes you stupid. So I want you to start the day listening to your teacher and playing with your friends, not your phone. We're trying to make the path to college easier as well. The top 30% of every high school graduating class now has auto-enrollment into our CSU system, as well as many private colleges. And our recently simplified FAFSA program tells you what, if any, out-of-pocket costs there will be. And this budget makes our largest state grants ever to our state colleges and UConn. Seize the opportunity. And speaking of UConn, this budget allocates money for the design and engineering of a new life sciences center in Storrs. Look, I'm excited to announce that UConn and Yale are now collaborating on a quantum computing, super fast computing enterprise. Quantum technologies will allow our biotech sector to develop therapies more effectively at less cost, to conduct faster and more thorough clinical trials. Connecticut has always led the world in advanced manufacturing. Now we can accelerate the growth in life sciences, starting with funding for a new world-class biotech hub in New Haven. Did you hear that, Marty? But healthcare only makes a difference if it's accessible and affordable. Deirdre Gifford is building off our healthcare benchmark to hold hospitals, insurance, and pharma accountable for those big price increases. Good news, we have more of our citizens with health insurance than ever before, and we have expansion of Covered Connecticut, providing free health care with no out-of-pocket expenses for all parents earning less than about $50,000 a year. And we have big discounts for middle-class families on the exchange. And the Array RX card can provide savings anywhere from 20 to 80% on medicines. Thank you, Comptroller Scanlon. So speaking of affordability, our tax credit for working families and the $400 million tax cut for middle-class families is now saving you about $25 per paycheck. Our income tax is less than our neighboring states and less than most Sunbelt states for the majority of our workers. And we have eliminated the tax on pensions and 401ks for most retirees, and we have eliminated the estate tax for 99% of our citizens. Looking at the mayors, we still have work to do on the property tax together, which hits residents on fixed incomes the hardest. Our budgets continue to do more. We recently increased and expanded the property tax credit, reduced the car tax, and our state aid to municipalities is more than ever before. Our budget is doing more, but we also have to focus on doing better. Local government spread across 169 towns and 200 school districts is just too damn expensive. Don't worry, I'm not going to use that word regionalized. That already went over like a lead balloon a few years ago. But I will say that our budget provides additional flexibility for our COGS, so they can hire the tax assessors and building inspectors and purchasing agents and the IT nerds, which your town may not be able to afford on a full-time basis, but your COG can make available for you on a contract as needed basis. That should save you money and provide the skills as needed, not just full-time. Look, like too many of our citizens, Connecticut in years past was living paycheck to paycheck with too much debt and no room for error. Today, in addition to making our regular payments to the pension fund, we have paid down an extra $8 billion, saving taxpayers about $800 million per year for the next 25 years that can be dedicated to critical social services. And we have added tens of thousands of new taxpayers, which further strengthens our budget for the future. And paying down our debts in a robust rainy day fund, that doesn't shortchange our programs. It has resulted in 6 years of consistent increases in our social programs, rather than that herky-jerky boom and bust cycle from yesteryear. We're doing better. Our budget is trying to provide the same security for our citizens, not just creating opportunity, but building wealth. I always remember something that Senator Winfield likes to remind me. People will need fewer second chances if they give them more first chances. All right, for starters, too many of our citizens are underwater with debt. Our budget pays companies to pay down your student debt, starting with your first job here in Connecticut. Pay down that student debt. Number two, our budget will pay down over $650 million in medical debt. That's debt that hangs over you like a dark cloud. And with less debt, you're in a better position to take advantage of debt-free community college and free workforce training, which allows you to earn more. And building wealth starts with ownership. We have provided funding alongside the private sector to support over 1,000 small business startups, over 1,000 startups over the last few years, mostly owned by women and entrepreneurs of color. These companies are on your main street and may employ a few of your neighbors as well, all with a stake in their community. Those empty shop windows are coming to life. In addition, our Time to Own program helps you make a down payment on your first home, already benefiting over 3,000 first-time homeowners right here in the neighborhood they love, in nearly every town in the state. And if your baby is born under Husky, our first-in-the-nation statewide baby bonds program will provide a little extra boost, more than $10,000 after he or she turns 18, maybe to help with college tuition or that new home or that new business. I think I'm looking right here at Evan Calderon. Evan is one of the first babies to receive baby bonds. Evan, I'm going to give you a new nickname, Baby Bond. What's your name? Bond, Baby Bonds. Stay in Connecticut. It's worth the wait. And I want to thank you, Treasurer Russell, for making this happen. He made it happen. One last thing I ask in return of everybody out there in TV land and vote. I ask you to vote. I want you to be involved. I want you to have a stake in what happens here. It makes a difference. Where's Secretary of State Stephanie Thomas? She's making early voting a reality, making it easier every day. And I want you to vote. I want you to have a stake in the outcome. I want to make sure your vote means that we have a budget which is a reflection of your values. And by the way, we have a budget. Look, Hartford is not Washington, D.C., where they have a hard time deciding upon a speaker, a budget. They don't even try to balance the budget. Look, maybe those Washington, D.C. partisans should be required to check their smartphones in a yonder pouch before entering their capital. They seem to be talking at each other. I like to think here in this room we're talking with each other. I think it's making a positive difference in people's lives. And that's why we all do what we do. God bless you all, everybody. It's the great state of Connecticut.
Thank you, Governor and Senator Duff.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, would the clerk please call the following resolution? Joint Convention Resolution Number 2, resolution concerning the printing of the governor's message.
Mr. Clerk.
Joint Convention Resolution Number 3, resolution concerning the printing of the governor's budget message.
Senator Duff.
I move the adoption of the resolution.
Will you remark? If not, let me try your minds.